Okay, so hi, my name is Mia. I'm a junior and a peer success leader, and I'll be the moderator for this little discussion that will be posted on social media or wherever. So first, can we have all of the panelists, I guess, introduce yourself and like your position and your year and name?
I can go. My name is Benton Meldrum. I use he, him, his pronouns. I'm a senior from Denver, Colorado. I'm studying public health and political science. Some of the things I'm involved with are the TOUGH program, the Peer Health Educators. I'm involved in Green Envy Acapella on campus, and I'm involved in the ODK Honors Fraternity. And I work for the Will. TOUGH is a volunteer organization and a job that I have.
I can go next. My name is Anusha. I use she, her, hers pronouns. I'm also senior, double majoring in neuroscience and psychology. On campus, like me, I'm a PSL. I'm also a SAFE. I'm a resident advisor, and I work at the Tulane Law Library.
My name is Eric Rothbard. I'm a junior from Dallas, Texas. I study finance and real estate here on campus. I'm an active member of Fiji, and I'm also external student affairs coordinator for the Greek ambassadors.
I'm Bridget. I'm a sophomore. I major in anthropology, which is fun. I'm here primarily because I'm one of the interns. I'm the internal affairs coordinator for the Greek ambassador program, but I'm also a member of Kappa Alpha Theta, and I'm an RA and a peer mentor. And I was just selected today to be a wave leader, so I'm excited about that.
Okay, so how this will work is I'll just ask y'all a question, and whoever feels like they can answer it can unmute and answer. Multiple people can answer each question however you feel. So we can just get started. So the first question I have is, how do you know when to stop or slow down when you're really committed to something?
For me, I know I need to kind of take it easy because I'm on the exec board of Fiji. I do student affairs for the Greek ambassadors. So when my priorities are starting to get muddied with these things, such as my health, making times for my friends, my academics, I put those at the forefront, and myself too. So once or people tell me, or I notice myself that I'm getting a little down, I'm getting a little fatigued, I know I should take a step back.
Yeah, I'd agree with Eric's comment about getting down. I think just listening to yourself, really like taking space to like understand your humanity and like your own importance as a being outside of whatever you do isn't so important. And especially I've noticed that during the pandemic, it's been easier for me, like in quarantine, spending less time with other people. It's been easier for me just to like check in with myself, and sometimes that's very depressing, but other times it's really knowledgeable and enlightening for what I need. And so if that's to step it up and actually like put more effort into something, or if that's take a night off or take a week off, it's just about listening to yourself and trusting like yourself to let you know when it's time to slow down.
Cool. So we can move on to the next question. Thank y'all. So the next question is, how do you balance schoolwork with extracurricular work without feeling too overwhelmed?
I think for me, that goes back to what they were talking about earlier, like checking in with yourself and a lot of planning. So I'm a big Google Calendar person. All of my different events have colors and things, so it's easier for me to keep track of what I'm spending my time on. And then checking in to make sure that I'm not filling up all my time doing things, and I'm also allocating time for myself.
I think one other thing that's pretty helpful, at least for me, is Eric kind of mentioned this, but a lot of the times the people around us are equally like as reflective as we are about ourselves, if that makes sense. So I really rely on like my really close friends and like my support system. And if they ever like, look, like you need to take a step back, then like I really, really listen to that and value that and kind of look at everything again and realize that I maybe haven't balanced all of the commitments well.
Thank you. Okay, so how do y'all stay organized with all of the commitments that you have?
Just like Anusha, I'm a big Google Calendar guy. Google Calendar, Outlook, different folders on my desktop, or I guess my laptop, but just like, I feel like you just need to be organized with your time and with your materials for school and for work in order to succeed. Like if you don't have a system that works for you, you need to develop that and just find what works for you.
Okay, so here's like a simple one. Like, what are some places one could look if they're wanting to get involved, whether that be on campus or if you know any places like in the city, just someone who like doesn't really know where to start.
I highly recommend the NSLP Instagram page. They repost a lot of things, whether it's on campus, off campus. And also what I love about it is like I have sent posts in from various organizations I'm a part of and they've reposted it. So I think it's a really good central place to find things.
I think something that I've told my residents, I'm a first year RA this year, and something that I think is helpful is to start with a couple large organizations that have a lot of members in them that are relatively low time commitments unless you like really want to get involved, and try to meet some people within them that will probably have a couple shared interests with you and then like kind of build off of that. So I think like starting really general, like I'm obviously Greek ambassador. I think Greek life is great. But then, you obviously will meet a couple people in there that like maybe share one interest with you and you can be like, oh, what are you involved in? And I think that like opens some doors to start really general and then build your smaller, more time commitment type things.
Thank you. Okay, so the next question is, do y'all have any tips for dealing with imposter syndrome?
Could you just explain to me what that is? Sorry.
Yeah, I think a good explanation of imposter syndrome would just be the feeling that whatever like commitments you have or whatever, like say just like being a Tulane student, you feel like you don't really deserve to be here and that like maybe, they admitted me, but they didn't really want me, or it was a mistake, or you're just feeling like you don't really deserve the positions that you're getting. And like that feels like super overwhelming. You think like you're not as qualified as the people around you.
Okay, I've definitely felt this so many times, and I am a sophomore and I have a lot of commitments. So like I feel it all the time. This is very specific and very random, but something that helps me if there's any position I've been selected for is going back and reading the descriptions of the people that they're advertising those positions to be. So like, for example, wave leader, peer mentor, something like that, you can go and like see the descriptions on like the new student orientation Instagrams and things like that. And like when you read that, it kind of like reassures you as like, oh, that's me. Like I was selected for that. I now fit that role. And it makes me feel a lot better about like stepping into it.
So kind of similar to that, I like to go back and read the application that I submitted. And it makes me just like, I'm really proud of myself because at that point it's been long enough that I don't feel like I've written it. And I try to think of myself like, okay, if I was the person on the other side of this, would I admit this person or let this person join the org or whatever. And that helps me. I also recommend finding hype people, whoever that is, who you can tell them that this is how I'm feeling, and they are not going to like unnecessarily hype you up, but they know you well enough to know who you are as a person, what your interests are, what you're good at, and then they're able to boost your confidence for you, I guess.
Yeah, something that's been really reassuring to me is remembering that like no one really knows what they're doing. I think it's just something I think to myself a lot. Like obviously there's masters in their fields and like people who do know what they're doing, but like especially college students or like recent graduates, like this is a time in everyone's life where like you kind of just are grasping at what you can, figuring out yourself, figuring out the world. Like everyone's in the same boat. We're all doing that together. So like if you feel like you got in but you didn't deserve it, like you probably do. Like you do. You're here. You did it. So just like remembering, like comparing yourself to everyone's perfect characteristics to your imperfect characteristics, whatever that means to you, like that's not a fair assessment. Take a step back, take a deep breath. You got this.
Thank you guys. Okay, so this next question asks, do you have to be extroverted to be involved at Tulane?
Okay, I'll go. Everyone's like not shaking their head, right? You're like, no, because like, no, introverted people can be super, super, super involved, and they often are. However, I'm going to say that you absolutely do have to be open. And if you're introverted to the point of being closed off to things, then no, honestly, you might not be as involved. But as long as you are just open to the world around you and open to like meeting new people and doing new things, even if that's within a smaller circle or like still like maintaining yourself and like your introverted tendencies, that's fine. But I think you do have to like make sure to stay open.
And I would emphasize that like I am like a very involved student. I know a lot of very involved students, and there's such a wide like spectrum of, you know, introverted, extroverted, just people who like love to be around people all the time, people who need their alone time, and they've held positions that were leadership positions, you know, like they've been involved in like really big projects. Like it definitely is not like a determinant of whether or not you can be an involved student. It's just about like, are you open to like applying to a bunch of stuff and putting yourself out there a little bit. Okay, so okay, the next question is, do you have any tips for dealing with a disagreement within like your involvements or clubs?
Do you mean like scheduling wise or like what sort of conflict?
I'm assuming it's probably just like if you disagree on like the vision of some sort of project or club, or where you want to like take something, just like mediating those types of disagreements.
I would say like take time to understand your own values. Like, what is it about that organization that you disagree with? And if you find that there's something fundamental that you really disagree with, you probably shouldn't be a part of that organization. But if you feel like you're committed to that organization and then like find out later that there's something fundamental that you disagree with within it, like you have the ability to change that organization. You have that ability to educate people within your organization to change or at least see some sort of perspective that maybe they didn't see before. So it's definitely not like a lost cause. Yeah.
This next question kind of goes along with it a little bit. If you have any insight on this, how would I learn to speak up for my own ideas in an organization? I mean, I think this one's pretty like similar to the last one. It's just like evaluating your own like personal values and what you like where you want the organization to go and where you believe it should go, and just like staying true to like your kind of vision when you like came into that organization, how you like imagined your participation would be, and just like again like believing in yourself and like believing that your ideas have value, and that like if like your organization or whoever you're working with should be open to hearing your ideas, because like it's not really productive for a group of people to just be closed off to certain people's ideas. So just knowing that like most people are going to want to listen to you, whether or not they necessarily adopt everything you put forward, it's definitely productive to bring up your own ideas. Okay, let me see. Okay, here's like the kind of last question that we have. I feel overwhelmed by the amount of clubs here. How do I find things that I will really enjoy?
I think something about Tulane is that there are a small enough amount of people at the school that oftentimes networks and like social groups have some sort of overlap. Like there's probably not too many degrees of separation between one person on campus to another. So utilize your social networks and ask questions. I would say like let your friends know like, hey, I'm looking for something new. Do you have any ideas for me? And then go with their ideas, or if not, ask them like, if you think of something like, or if you could ask around to help me, please let me know. And then they can ask around, say like, hey, I have a friend who's looking to do something, what are you guys involved in? Because there's organizations that are always forming, there's always organizations that are losing people, like campus is dynamic with the student body, so just remembering that like there are always opportunities, and if there's something that you want to do on campus, there's either an org that already does that or you can start one. And like there's always doors that you can open. They're there. You just have to look for them.
I think something else that's helpful as far as like right at the beginning is cast like a really big net, like get on every single email list that sounds remotely interesting to you. Like if it sounds like it could, you know, maybe possibly spark some interest, get on the list, and like know that you're going to drop probably half. Is that's okay. Like everybody in charge of organizations knows that those first like month or so of any new semester, you're going to have a lot of signups, then you're going to people drop out, and that's fine. Just like get on the email list, see what comes up, go to an event or two if you want to, and then if you decide it's not for you, take yourself off, and then like eventually you'll develop some that you actually are involved in. But don't be afraid to like sign up for a lot of things and then kind of like slowly narrow it down.
Okay, well, that is all the questions that I have like on the panel submitted questions. So unless y'all have any like last minute pieces of advice or thoughts, we can end it here. Okay, well, thank you so much for like your wisdom on this stuff, I guess.